All right, before we dive in, just a quick but really important reminder. Everything we're about to discuss is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. All investments carry risks, so please, please always do your own research.
Okay, let's get into it. Today, we're breaking down the big one, the event everyone's been watching on the PLAZM calendar, Day 114. This is it, folks, the final major stress test for the entire protocol before things shift into normalization.
This is the number that's on everyone's mind, 477,779. That's how many PLAZM tokens are set to be released in just 2 days. And yeah, it looks like a huge number, but trust me, context is absolutely everything here.
So yeah, we're calling this the final test, and for a very good reason. This is the last big hurdle, the final massive token release before the protocol settles down into its long-term, more predictable, normalized state.
So, what makes Day 114 such a big deal? Well, it's really two things at once, right? On one hand, it's a mechanical milestone. This is the peak of the emissions we have left. But it's also a huge psychological milestone. Getting past this day, that's the signal that the toughest part of this whole launch phase is officially behind us.
Okay, let's just put this on a timeline so you can see it clearly. We are right here, today on day 112. The main event, that roughly 478,000 token release, that's coming up in just 2 days. And look what happens right after. Only 4 days later, on day 118, the daily emissions just fall off a cliff as normalization kicks in. The finish line is so close you can almost touch it.
Okay, now we get to the absolute core of this analysis. This is probably the most important part. To really get a handle on day 114, we have to rewind the clock a bit, back to day 94. Remember that? That was the protocol's first massive stress test, and comparing these two events gives us a ton of incredible data-backed insight.
So, first things first, let's just look at the size of the challenge. On day 94, the protocol faced the release of a whopping 733,000 tokens. Now look at day 114. It's just under 478,000. I mean, the takeaway is simple. The protocol has already stared down a much bigger beast, and won.
Let that sink in for a second. The test we're about to face is 35% smaller than one we've already aced. That fact alone should tell you a lot. But here's the thing, that's not even the best part of the story.
This right here, this is where it gets really interesting. It's not just that we're facing a smaller release, we are facing it with a protocol that is an absolute unit compared to what it was back then. Just look at the numbers. The burn rate up 124%, the amount of stake supply up 42%, and the total protected supply has jumped by 14 points. And maybe most important of all, we have the experience. We've been here, done that, and come out on top.
Let's just zoom in on this one number because it is wild. Plus 124%. That means the rate at which tokens are being permanently torched from the supply has more than doubled. It's this powerful deflationary engine that's literally twice as strong as it was last time, just waiting to eat up any new supply.
And this number, this shows how much the protocol has grown up. 72% of the entire supply is now what we call protected. It's burned, it's staked, it's locked in LPs, it's not sitting on the sidelines ready to create sell pressure. Think of it like a fortress. Our walls are just so much higher now, jumping from 58% all the way to 72%.
So let's just recap the history here. The last time we had a big test, the event was 35% bigger. The protocol was weaker across the board by every single metric we've looked at. And what happened? The price dropped just 1.5%. That past performance sets an incredibly strong precedent for what we can expect this time around.
Okay, so that's the passive strength of the protocol. Now let's talk about the active defenses, the protocol's dedicated war chest that's ready for action.
So right now, the defense pools are sitting at just under $20,000 ready to go. Now you might be thinking, hey, isn't that less than we had on day 94? And you'd be right. But remember the context we just talked about. This money is defending against a 35% smaller event with a protocol that's over 40% stronger. Each dollar of that war chest just packs a much bigger punch now.
And this war chest isn't just one big pile of cash. It's smart. It's diversified. You've got funds in both eShare and in USDC split between buying and burning tokens and buying and building up liquidity. And the coolest part? The system is always topping itself up through real yield, adding a few $100 of fresh firepower every single day.
All right, so beyond the active war chest, we've got these awesome built-in passive defenses. Let's look at the mechanics that automatically absorb pressure without anyone having to lift a finger.
This chart really says it all. Look at that. Nearly 3/4 of the entire supply is already out of the picture. It's protected. So when we talk about sell pressure from a release, we're only ever talking about pressure coming from that much smaller, circulating slice of the pie.
And here's the beautiful three-step dance these mechanics do together. First, if the price takes a dip, the buy and burn system actually gets stronger. Each dollar burns more tokens. That's what we call an anti-fragile response. Second, you have that massive wall of over 2 million staked tokens just sitting there, providing this solid foundation. And third, the deep liquidity pools are there to act like a giant shock absorber, just soaking up buys and sells to keep things smooth.
Okay, so we've looked at all the data. What does this all mean for day 114? Let's run through a couple of potential scenarios, based on everything we know.
Look, based on what happened on day 94, the most likely outcome here is a pretty modest price dip, maybe in that 2 to 5% range. That'll kick the burns into high gear, and then we'll see a recovery. Now, could things be more challenging? Sure. If the whole market is having a bad day, maybe we see a temporary 5 to 10% drop, with the recovery taking a day or two. But notice the keyword in both of those scenarios is recovery.
And this is so important to remember. Day 114 is the peak. It's the top of the mountain. Let's look at what happens the moment we get over that hill, because everything changes dramatically. This timeline is just pure relief. The very next day, on day 115, the release size just collapses by 64%, down to just 172K. After one more medium-sized day, boom, we had day 118, and we are in normalization. I've heard it called the final boss battle, and it's a great analogy. Everything after this is the victory lap.
Okay, so before we wrap up, we need to be really clear about what success actually looks like here. What does a win on day 114 mean? Because it might not be what you're expecting.
A win is the system doing exactly what it was built to do. It's a checklist, really. Does the price hold within a reasonable range, save 5%? Check. Do the burn mechanics fire up and accelerate like they're supposed to? Check. Do we avoid any kind of panic selling cascade? Check. And does the recovery start within 24 to 48 hours? Check. If we hit those marks, that's a huge victory. It proves the whole anti-fragile design is working perfectly.
And let me be crystal clear about what success is not. Success is not the price magically going up on the day of the biggest remaining token release. That's just not realistic. And success is not zero volatility. Success is the protocol taking the punch, absorbing the pressure, using the burns to get even stronger, and proving how resilient it is as it marches toward normalization. So let's put it all together. Here's the final thesis on why this protocol is ready for its final test.
It all comes down to this: 478,000 tokens. But it's 35% smaller than day 94. The protocol, it's over 40% stronger. The burns have doubled. Staking is up 40%. The protected supply is sitting at a massive 72%. We've got 2 days until the final test and just 6 days until normalization. You can see the finish line. The protocol is ready.
And that's our deep dive. Remember, this was all for educational purposes. All investments come with significant risk, and it is absolutely crucial that you do your own thorough research before making any financial decisions.